Greetings, Emmett here from ReadingforWisdom.com. Looking at our global economy, the biggest companies by value, by turnover in the world today are still the same type of companies that we had 50 years ago. They're largely oil companies, power companies, automobile companies. So some of the biggest companies in the world currently are ExxonMobil, BP, Toyota. Some of the big Chinese state-owned enterprises like Sinopec and State Grid. Also, big retail giants like Walmart and, of course, the investment giant Berkshire Hathaway. So these traditional type of companies still have huge resources, huge workforces, lots and lots of capital, lots of turnover. However, looking at some of the companies in the new economy, we can look at things like companies' ability to influence, the power of reach, and also the power of disruption. And there are 4 of these companies that stand out worldwide. They're all American companies, by the way. Facebook, Google, Amazon, and of course Apple. And these 4, the 4 horsemen, as he has dubbed them, are the subject of a wonderful book by Scott Galloway, The 4. Galloway's book is a great read. It's a very, very important read. And I think it's a read that's relevant for economists, for business students, and for those of us just going through daily life, particularly maybe some older people who are seeing huge disruptions to society. How did all of this happen? How does it work? How did these companies get to be the way they are today? How did they get into the positions that they have today? These things, these questions are all the subject of Galloway's book. But also, and probably more importantly for us ordinary folk, Galloway asks, what is the influence of these companies and companies like them on the future of work, the future of our economy, the future of careers? These are the things that matter, the future ability to put bread on the table. So, wonderful book. Galloway starts by looking at each of the 4 individually, and he looks at their business models, their history, and compared how they work in the economy compared with other traditional companies. A theme coming through this actually is how these companies have benefited almost from lax attitudes towards them, from regulators, from investors. They're almost treated differently from traditional companies. That's a key message that goes through. Their disruptive methods almost overturn existing business practices. And not only is this a book about these sort of business models and big business practices, it is of course a book about people, and particularly some of the founders and the great drivers behind these hugely successful companies. And these figures are household names across the world. Jeff Bezos from Amazon, of course, Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook, Eric Schmidt at Google, and of course the legendary Steve Jobs at Apple. Galloway explores the influence of these men, and they're not only just men in the book, of course. Sheryl Sandberg features prominently in the story of Facebook, but these men and the role they've played in the growth, in the innovation of these companies is explored, warts and all, because Galloway is quite frank about, yes, the genius of some of these men, the drivers that they bring, but also their flaws as human beings. So this book is a wealth of information, wealth of insight, and it is wonderfully written by Scott Galloway. Now, please do search YouTube for some of Scott Galloway's videos, because he's a really entertaining guy. He might grate with some, but a larger-than-life character. So he's an impressive entrepreneur in his own right. So when he's talking about entrepreneurship, he really understands what he's talking about. When he's talking about business, he knows what he's talking about. But he's also a great professor in New York, and one one of the most popular business school teachers and lecturers in the American system. He's a worldwide, globally invited speaker, invited to all sorts of forums to talk irreverently about technology and modern business. And irreverent he is. He doesn't like icons. He smashes them down. So he's a very iconoclastic figure. Very, very lively writer. Lots of profanity in the book, but always very entertaining and always sticking to facts. He tells you when he has an opinion, but he also tells you when he's introducing a fact. So let's dip into the book and have a little example of the way Scott Galloway writes. Here's him introducing us to Amazon. 30% of US households have a gun, and 64% have Amazon Prime. Wealthy households are more likely to have Amazon Prime than a landline phone. Half of all online growth and 21% of retail growth in the United States in 2016 could be attributed to Amazon. When in a brick-and-mortar store, 1 in 4 consumers check user reviews on Amazon before purchasing. There are several good books, including Brad Stone's impressive The Everyday Store, that tell the story of how a hedge fund analyst named Jeff Bezos drove cross-country from New York to Seattle with his wife and formulated his business plan for Amazon while on the road. Many who write about Amazon argue the firm's core assets are its operational capabilities, engineers, or brand. I, on the other hand, would argue that the real reasons Amazon is kicking the collective asses of its competition and its likely ascent to $1 trillion in value are different. Similar to the other 4, Amazon's rise rests on its appeal to our instincts. The other wind at its back is a simple, clear story that has enabled it to rise and spend staggering amounts of capital. And Galloway is a brave thinker. He's certainly not afraid to speak truth to power and poke the big guys. Here's him on entrepreneurship and puncturing a particular bubble about certain types of companies. Stealing is a core competency of high-growth tech firms. We don't like to believe this, as entrepreneurs hold a special, exalted place in American culture. They are the spirited mavericks tilting at the windmills of giant established corporations, T-shirted Prometheuses who bring the fire of new technologies to humankind. The truth is less romantic. For many readers, the value of the 4 will be on the lessons it provides on where our economy is heading, the impact of the 4 on ways of doing business, the impact of the 4 on other companies and their business models, and the impact of the 4 overall on our economy, the economy in the United States, in developed countries, but also in developing countries. But actually, for this reader anyway, one of the most important parts of the book is Galloway's thoughts on the impact this has on us as individuals, individual workers, individuals starting off in a career at the beginning of our lives, or individuals halfway through or nearing the end of careers. What is the world of work going to look like for us? He has a whole section in here effectively on career advice. One of the great phrases that he uses in the book is that it's never been a better time to be exceptional or a worse time to be average. So let's look at some of the career advice that Galloway has. Manage your career. Take responsibility for your own career and manage it. People will tell you to follow your passion. This again is BS. I would like to be quarterback for the New York Jets. I'm tall, have a good arm, decent leadership skills, and would enjoy owning car dealerships after my knees go. However, I have marginal athletic ability, learned this fast at UCLA. People who tell you to follow your passion are already rich. Don't follow your passion, follow your talent. Determine what you are good at early and commit to becoming great at it. You don't have to love it, just don't hate it. If practice takes you from good to great, the recognition and compensation you will command will make you start to love it. And ultimately, you will be able to shape your career and your specialty to focus on the aspects you enjoy the most. And if not, make good money and then go and follow your passion. No kid dreams of being a tax accountant. However, the best tax accountants on the planet fly first class and marry better looking people than themselves, both things they are likely to be passionate about. Galloway published this book in 2017, and since then events have somewhat overtaken some of the points that he makes in this book, but it's still a very, very important read, and I think it's going to be an important read over the next 5, 6, 7, 10 years. Galloway, as I said, great entertaining writer, and I do urge you to check his stuff out on YouTube. Some of it is very, very funny, very iconoclastic. What's not to like in that? If you liked this review, if you like the type of books that we're talking about, please like this channel, subscribe, and come over to ReadingforWisdom.com, where we have many more resources to inform and entertain. See you next time.